I'm an introvert. I'm a technical introvert. That's why I care about this. I know there's a lot of introverts out there that are at a bit of a disadvantage and they feel like they're at a disadvantage. I'm doing this because I've found that disadvantage is largely in your head. The actual skills you need are relatively quick and simple to learn. Let's start with some basic definitions. Introvert and extrovert. I'm going from the perspective of the definitions as used in the Myers-Briggs type indicator. That's what I'm referring to. So by those definitions, an introvert is someone who can do social interaction. You are perfectly capable of doing it. The only thing is you don't enjoy it. Okay, so you can be an introvert and you can have amazing people skills. You can give presentations, you can do public speaking, you could give toasts at weddings, all that kind of stuff. And you're really good at it. It's just that if you're an introvert, you don't do that for fun. At the end of the day, you come home and you go off by yourself to recharge the battery. You read a book, you watch TV. You don't surround yourself with 50 people you don't know and all have a party. That would be stressful to you, right? Social interaction is an energy draining experience for introverts. And the definition of extrovert is the opposite. It's a person who can do social interaction, but they find it an energy charging experience. So it's what they do for fun. These are the people that come home after a hard day at work. They surround themselves with like 50 people. They go out and a big get together in the neighborhood. They talk to everyone, and that's what they do for fun. That's what makes them feel comfortable, and it recharges the battery. Okay? So extroverts and introverts. So if you're an introvert, you're someone who, maybe you don't have social skills, or maybe you do, and maybe you have very good social skills. The point is, you don't enjoy doing it. So because you don't enjoy it, you tend not to do it as much. That's the thing. And therefore, you have less practice. Now, if you practice your skills, you can be as good as any extrovert. Easy. You might even be superior to a lot of extroverts. But it's not enjoyable to practice, right? So hopefully everybody understands the definitions. So that's the definitions. Those are the definitions that I'm going on. Okay. I wanted to go into a couple of principles here about why this is an extrovert's world. I think everyone has to understand that, usually when you get a job, you're working in a business. It's not always the case. Sometimes you work for a charity. Sometimes you work for the military. Sometimes you work for the government. There's exceptions, but generally speaking, most people are employed in the private sector by a for-profit employer, right? Now, whether you work in a small company or you work in a big company, doesn't matter, because the theory is the same. And that is that you have to make money, right? You have to be successful at something. And the general rule is that if you're successful in something, you will make more money. If you're less successful, you make less money, right? Now, how do you become successful in something? How do you become successful at business? It's by selling more things. How do you do that? It's by making something popular, right? How do you make something popular? Well, one of the things you need to make something popular is you have to be connected to a lot of people, right? It's hard for 1 million people to all know of your company and all want to buy your company's product if you've never connected with them in some way, right? So either you have put up a big sign that 1 million people can drive by and read, right? That's how you're connecting to them. You're communicating to them. And obviously it's something they like, so they understand that whatever they put on the sign, it's meant to get you to like them, right? How can you get someone to like you if you have no clue who they are? You don't care, you don't know what they care about, right? So you need to understand them. So there's a connection there, right? You need to be connected to customers at the very least. In the business world, you're connected to suppliers, partners, competitors, regulators. There's all kinds of the government. There's all kinds of connections among these entities in the business environment, and you need them to be successful. The more connections you have and the better connections you have, the general rule is the more successful you will be, right? Now usually we're talking about getting a job, right? That's usually why people are here, why people are wanting to brush up on their people skills, right? Well, you want to get a job and work for an employer. Well, what is the employer doing? The employer is trying to make their thing popular, right? And that involves connections. So it follows that if you're the type of person that has a lot of connections and you can make connections easily and they're good connections, that you will be more valuable to an employer, right? It's hard to be an introvert and say, I'm not going to leave my house and I'm not going to meet anybody. I'm not going to communicate with anyone, but yet be a tremendous success. It's just hard because even if you were brilliant, if you were Albert Einstein, if you were Nikola Tesla and you discovered, like I think I said recently, you discovered cold fusion, the secret to cold fusion. You can make cold fusion with a table, 2 chairs, a TV tray, and a sweet trolley. You discovered a way of using those items to create cold fusion, which would solve the world's energy problems, right? So let's say you managed to do this in your house, but you never communicate with anyone. You can't communicate with anyone because you have social anxiety. You don't know how to communicate to anyone. You don't know who you would communicate with. And you hate the process. What would be the purpose? What would be the point of having solved cold fusion if you can't tell anyone about it? Or publicize it or get it in front of the right people that can help exploit it. Right? Now, I know that's an absurd example, but hopefully it illustrates the point, right? If you're brilliant, you're brilliant. But if you can't exploit that, if no one can see that you're brilliant, if you can't convince anyone or persuade anyone that you're brilliant, what's the point in being brilliant? It all goes to waste. This is the problem, right? Now, there are ways to communicate with people without talking to them face to face, right? That's what we're doing now. And God knows the internet is a godsend for a lot of introverts, right? You can communicate with people and connect to people in the comfort of your own home. It's beautiful. That's one of the reasons I like YouTube so much. If I was a more extroverted person, I probably would not be doing this. I'd probably be out doing public speaking all the time. But I like doing this. I don't have to talk to anyone. I don't have to deal with all the administrative crap involved in doing that stuff. So that's a plus for me. Right? So connections are what this is all about. You need connections. It's great to have skills and it's great to have knowledge, but if you have no connections, you can't exploit the skills and the knowledge, right? So this is the importance of that stuff. A lot of reasons why introverts don't fulfill their potential is because they're not focusing on the connections. But the reason they're not focusing on them is because they trivialize the importance of connections. They don't see how important it really is. So therefore, they're not working on their abilities to communicate and to connect with people. So therefore, they don't really develop them, and therefore they're not very good. Right? Covered Girl says, I'm an introvert feeling crappy listening this far. I'm sorry about that, Covered Girl. Listen, if there's one takeaway, I want you to take away this. You're awesome. Introverts are highly, highly talented people. They're usually a hell of a lot smarter than a lot of extroverts, I can tell you that much, simply because they have the ability to focus on something. And I've done this my whole career. I really like people that have, this is going to sound weird to articulate this, but someone that has a weird idiosyncratic passion or obsession, something that you don't see every day. Someone's really, really, really into this. And you're like, oh, wow, that's something you don't see every day, but they know everything about it. And they are just passionate about it, and it's wow, that's awesome. Like you would never get, imagine if nobody was into relational databases. Like you want to talk technical stuff. Let's talk about that. We're talking about computer systems. Some of the technology that we're using to communicate right now between me and you, it's over the internet using routers and, telecommunications equipment, stuff like that. It's like we would have never gotten of any of this if there hadn't been people that were just like absolutely passionate about relational databases, absolutely passionate about, encryption algorithms. You know what I'm saying? Like these people live for this stuff. They eat, sleep, and breathe it. It's like they get up every morning and they think about like encryption. And then they work their whole day on encryption. They go to bed and they, right before they go to bed, they're thinking of like encryption, and then they get up and then they do it all again every day. And they're not doing it because it's their job. They're doing it because they're into it, I think that's absolutely amazing. And those people, my friend, those people are introverts. They're what makes the world function. So don't get me wrong. I don't want you going away feeling like bad hearing this reality. Okay. I'm setting this up to try and help you, to try and show you how, like, these are the people that can do this kind of thing. Okay. These are much bigger challenges. Learning how to talk to somebody, that's a tiny challenge compared to their abilities, right? The reason why more introverts don't succeed in this area is because, number one, they don't even see the problem. They don't recognize that this is a thing that is holding them back. It's not even on their radar, right? So that's the first step, is to realize, like, okay, this is something that if you're an introvert, you probably should, bone up on, do a little bit of work on it, like learn how to connect to people, learn how to talk to people in such a way that they go away loving you. It's easy to tell someone your opinion. Trust me, it is. As a matter of fact, that's kind of what I do a lot on this live stream, don't I? It's easy to just bark out like, this is what I think blah, blah. That's not the same thing as communication skills. Communication skills in a professional sense is you tell someone something, but you make them want to listen to you. That's the difference, right? Do you want to hear what your roommate or your friend, like, you want to hear every single thing they think about politics or religion or some other thing that maybe you're not super interested in? Do you want to hear that? Like, have them go on a 2-hour sort of tirade about it? No, you'll probably be bored and annoyed. It'll take effort to listen to that, right? You want to be able to communicate in a way that people want to hear from you, right? That's the goal here. Okay, Covered Girl says, I'm listening to learn. Thank you so much for caring to speak to this, which I know it's time to change. I agree. Yes.